Yo, so the opinions and views expressed in this podcast are that of our own and the Future Bachelor podcast only, and not affiliated with any outside party or entity or anything like that. This fun podcast, though, may include some adult language.
Future Bachelor Podcast.
Yeah. Welcome to Future Bachelor. My name is Sai.
I'm Veronica.
And this is episode 116.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we in here.
Sweet 116.
Ooh, sweet 116. It's going to be a good one. I had to start off with that jam because it just brings me back. Like, I feel like Kanye used to, like, rap so good. It inspired me to do music so hard. It's crazy. And one of those verses, like that verse right there, like all the things like solar system, cause you in my soul and system. And you're like, oh, Kanye. Yo, I don't know. That's just how
No,
I
that's
felt.
like, I mean, I forgot how good that song was. That song is great.
Hell yeah. And then Neo was just killing it back then.
Neo, so smooth and sultry.
Well, we had a great episode last week with Alma talking about the state of affairs happening in the world and stuff. And I think this is going to be a really cool. I'm really excited about this episode this week as well because the conversation can continue. And we have a very special guest coming on here for an interview later on in the show. We got Brett and Lee from the Bachelor Diversity Campaign that just got started. And it's a huge campaign, I think, because, you know, the foundation of this show was the fact that I am a person of color. And I thought I have never seen someone on the show that had, you know, looked like me. And I think I used to think it was weird, but now it's kind of like gotten a little deeper than that. But and I think we'll get into all that later on in the show, which I'm very excited to talk about. So, V, how is everything going in your world right now?
You know, I talked about at the end of last podcast that I was like going to take this past weekend as like kind of like time to like rest and recharge, which I think was much needed. I feel like I've been like super duper plugged in as of late, which is good. I mean, it's good because like there's work that needs to be done that I need to be plugged in for, but also it's like taxing.
Yeah. Do you think you could say that you could have some type of like fatigue with it?
Yeah.
Like
it's for sure a thing. And like I've seen a lot of posts and stuff about being like, hey, like, you know, even like being very real, like, hey, white people, like, you're gonna get like this kind of fatigue because like you haven't been in this fight for as long as like, you know, people of color have been. So like you need to like, it's all so important to, you know, rest and stuff to actually do the work. But so in my resting, I have a paddleboard. I went paddleboarding this weekend.
That's brand new, right?
Yeah, early morning paddleboarding with it's maiden voyage on the paddleboard on the Chattahoochee River.
Aye.
I know, yes. I know we should have like some sort of like
you need a flag or something.
I don't know. Yeah. But and then I tie-dyed. I'm
hip, hip.
Finally
Sorry. Is that what you're trying to say? We need some type of like cheer, like hip hip hooray.
It's not right.
There you go.
But yeah, no, so, you know, tie-dye has been so popular during this quarantine, like the tie-dye sweat sets, just like doing it as a thing. So some of our friends like Kelsey and Alexa and Maggie and I, we all got together and we did some tie-dyeing and I have some dope shirts out of it.
Dude, that's so awesome. I'm going to actually be tie-dyeing later, or it will be Thursday, but I can't wait because I've wanted a tie-dye shirt for a while.
I know. Yeah, that's the reason why you can't wait.
Dude, I hate you. Anyways,
you make it so easy for me, Si.
I know. I just it's all for the show. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
it's all for the show.
It's just for the show.
Yeah, it's a
bit. It's just a bit.
It's just a bit. It's just smoke and mirrors for the show. We got to entertain the people. Are you not entertained? You know. So, anyways, that's cool. What else you get into?
Oh, I just helped build some IKEA furniture for our friends David and Katie in their new house.
Oh, you must really like them.
I do. Well, I was you know, sometimes like my anxious energy needs to do something productive like that, and I wanted to see how their house, like they're doing a bunch of renovations. I wanted to see how it looks like now. And so, I just honestly, and I think, they needed the break from them building stuff together. I became a nice buffer,
Yeah. Be like, hey, don't scream at each other. You've already reached a screaming limit for this hour,
I know. Well, and plus, like, I'm just really good at that kind of stuff. Like, I turn into like a little machine. I'm just like putting together drawers and putting them into things.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was me. But you actually got on a plane. Where did you go?
Well, I did. I did the trek through the airport and on the plane and to California, and it was awesome. I didn't really see. I mean, besides there's still like kind of like being, nobody, not a lot of people in the airport. I mean, there were still quite a few people. I mean, essentially a full flight on my plane, except the middle seats are now not used, which is awesome for arm space, because that was always my thing. It's like I need my arm space. Some people don't need it, but like I need like the arm rests and stuff. So
yeah,
I got that now. But also,
thank God, we were so worried about you.
Well, luckily, I got the quickest flight over to California I could get, so it was like 4 hours. So I mean, I had to wear my mask for 4 hours. I don't know if you necessarily have to, but I did.
Do.
Well,
It's
I mean,
like
I saw other
required.
people not wearing them. So,
Really? Well, most airlines like literally like will not take off on the plane. Like they will make you wear it.
I don't know. I mean, I get it, but I mean, I wore mine, and that was kind of annoying because you just kind of for 4 hours wearing a mask kind of sucks. But besides that, got to California. That was dope, and it's so beautiful. Got to San Diego, drove up to Palm Springs in this Airbnb that was all mid-century modern, like straight up, like it was beautiful. It looked like something straight out of like the 70s or something like. And mountains. They had like those full moons and stuff this past weekend and stuff. So
Yeah.
dude, it was awesome. It was a nice quick trip, but like I want to do a lot more quick trips to California. Like it's just so beautiful out there. And I caught that plane back here, and I mean, we might as well just get into, since we're on the plane already, we might as well get into quick hits. Anyways, what do we got for quick hits, V?
So Iggy Azalea posted to her Instagram story this week about how she has a son with a child. Like those kids.
I actually knew that. I feel like I've known that for like a week or two.
And this is weird because like I think I didn't know this, like, and I got this sent to me today, and like, I mean, she just posted about it, so I don't know if like maybe there's been rumors, like, I don't know.
But I think they just like today is like where they know that it's like a boy. Like they knew she had been pregnant, obviously. You didn't know she was pregnant at all? That's like a whole year that you just didn't hear one thing that she...
I'll be honest, like I don't really follow Iggy Azalea anymore because like she's done too many like
I don't
shitty
blame you
things
because
that I
there's a
just
lot
don't
that's been
follow her.
going on in this world right now. So yeah, I don't blame you. So that's crazy. I wanted to talk about like stuff that's actually starting to happen in media because of what's going on with with racism and stuff these days. It's just kind of crazy to see. It's crazy to me that it's like an overnight thing happening, like when this has been forever, like like it's just been like forever. But I actually really like the show Vanderpump Rules.
Yeah.
And they fired 4 people, cast members from the show, that be over racist things. And 2 of them are not like that big of characters, but 2 of them are 2 characters. One of them is being Stassi. She's like the main character of the show, even though she left the show for a little while and came back. But she's like she was like the main person, and then Kristen, who's another main person on the show. So I heard that like they did something crazy where like someone like broke into a car, and it was like a black girl, and there's a black girl on the show. She actually went on to be on like the challenge and stuff. I forgot what her name was though.
Faith Stowers.
Faith. And so they called the cops and like said that, and they gave up Faith as a joke, like but I mean, they say as a joke, like I don't think liked her at all. And yeah,
they didn't.
I think
but
that's
it's
what
like
I saw. I read
inherently
about.
racist.
Yeah.
But they,
No, that was definitely crazy. And so they deserve to get fired from that stuff. But it's just crazy to see like, we were seeing like I think I brought it up a couple weeks ago, like Me Too. Like this is kind of like a new season of canceling. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's cancel season for a whole different. It's like when like, you know, a show like an anthology where like, you know, the show is called Cancel, but like each season is about a different
person, different thing, like different topic.
Thing. Yeah, like last time was like about like women and like all this stuff. This time it's about race. And I think we're gonna be seeing a lot more of like cancel season and this type of stuff. It's just it's almost unexcusable because like this stuff, like it's just like that. Like something from the past can come up, and you could say sometimes. I mean, I don't know if we said the Jimmy Fallon one. Like, you know, some people like will give a pass to something like that, but like, and if you don't know what we're talking about, he had like blackface being, but yeah. it was on Saturday Night Live. You know, and he was doing an impression of Chris Rock, which was actually, besides the blackface, is a really good impression of Chris Rock. But anyways, so yeah, you're gonna see a lot more of that stuff coming up, I think, here soon enough when they need something else to look at and stuff when it comes to TV shows. But also, I just kind of want to bring up, because we've talked about 6ix9ine in the past and just what he's doing right now. You know, he's gonna be. People were saying that no one's going to work with him and stuff because, you know, he's a snitch and he got out of jail and all that stuff. But like in the last week, I've seen that he has a collaboration with Nicki Minaj, something he already did before. But the big one that I thought was pretty crazy is that he's going to be linking up with Akon to make a new version of Akon's first single and big, huge hit called Locked Up. I'm locked up, it won't let me out.
Yeah.
Oh, it won't let me. And that's supposed to be like the bars closing behind you and stuff. But
yeah, good sound effects.
Yeah, thank you. It's one of my faves. Yeah, so this is like Locked Up Part 2, and 6ix9ine is going to be on this, and Akon and 6ix9ine posted it on their Instagram, and people are going at Akon right now being like, what are you doing, dude? You're like messing up a classic. Styles P, the rapper from the group The Lox, was on the original song, so he's all just like, yo, there's crazier stuff to talk about right now, which I agree, but this is our show. I mean, this is what type of stuff we talk about. So, yeah. But yeah, what do you think? You know the song, right?
I do. I mean, I think I might have had Akon's like original album for my like blue boombox that I had growing up. Which that's like a wild thing. So it's like that sits all on my iTunes and stuff back when you would burn CDs onto your iTunes. Wow, really? Woo, throwing it back. Right. But I think that's like such an interesting collab to me. And like just 6ix9ine in general is like such a enigma. Yeah, I don't even know. Like I'll listen to it. Like I'm interested to listen to see like what it's gonna.
I'm more surprised that. I mean, I guess I'm not that surprised that Akon would do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm worse like. The Nicki Minaj and like him doing the thing, like 6ix9ine and Nicki Minaj. That's normal. That's whatever. Nicki Minaj is trying to hold on to any bit of like fame she has. But yeah, like Akon, I feel like it's so out of the blue to me.
Yeah. Well, we'll just have to see how that comes out. What I thought was kind of crazy, some news I saw is that like Disney, I guess like signed a $1 million contract with Beyonce for 3 Disney projects, including Black Panther 2. So you're gonna be seeing Bey in Black Panther 2.
Is she gonna like? So she's gonna be in it? Like, what is she like? Yeah,
I guess she'll probably be a big character in it, actually. If anything, I mean, or she might even be like. That'd be crazy if she was a new superhero and stuff. But
yeah, well, and it says like she's also gonna like voice some of the new documentaries that will be on Disney Plus, which makes sense. Like, yeah,
that's just so much kind of money. Voice. That's crazy.
Well, yeah,
but huge for Disney, and I'm sure these projects will be huge. What else we got, V?
Yeah. So then, speaking of like this whole call out culture, Sky Jackson, she's young actress known for like Disney Channel shows and things like that. Also, like I think we might have talked about her before in the show. Her and Bad Baby had some beef. But she has been like calling out all these different like celebrities, people like that on her Twitter. She's been like, people have been DMing her, and like she's been surfacing a lot of like either like the receipts, like any of like things that people have said, things that people have done, whatever. Like, so she's out here, you know, using her platform to be like, here's these racist people. Here's like what you should know. Kind of like her own little investigative journalism, to the point where because she was posting so much to Twitter, Twitter like suspended her account for like 12 hours.
Oh, wow.
But she's back at it. So it's just interesting to see, like, this is like, I feel like I see a lot of memes this day about like Gen Z, because like that's the generation below us. And like, you know, it's like they're the ones out here who are like taking care of all this stuff, but they're like still too afraid to like call and make like a doctor's appointment. It's like kind of funny to me, because
to me,
it's
what
like,
I think is funny is that this is actually, it goes back to like a bigger like theory that I had like within the last 2 years, actually, probably like 2 years ago, I came up with this. But it's kind of funny now that I felt like 2 years ago, the podcast Up and Vanish came out, and obviously that was huge here in Atlanta, but like it was huge everywhere too. And you know, it was essentially this like kid paying Lindsay, like doing the work of what cops should be doing. You know what I'm saying? Or like what, like, you know, and now like, look, you got like people out here on Twitter, and you got accounts, and like everyone's sharing stuff. It's like the people are now doing the work of what like cops should have been doing the whole time. Like, you know, outing, like going after these type of people and stuff. Did you see that they're trying to put like the KKK as like a terrorist group now or something like that? There's like they're trying to like make that a thing.
I mean, yeah. I mean, who is trying to do that though?
I think it's just like petitions and all that stuff. Like,
I mean,
they're trying to, I think, do like bills like passed and all that stuff. Just, I mean, it's pretty crazy times right now. Like I feel like, I mean, obviously they're going to definitely, this is definitely a huge time in history. And I think anything could happen, like, you know, especially right now with the culture. Like, cancel culture has never been, I feel like it's like focusing on the right thing at the moment. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just there's sometimes like, you know, the Me Too movement, I thought, you know, that was a good focus and stuff, but sometimes people just will cancel for no reason, like things that just, like, you know what I'm saying, the dumbest things. But like this right now, I think is like the time where I think people should be outing other people and showing like what's wrong in the world when it comes to racism and stuff. So, oh,
for sure, I totally agree, and I also think like, yeah, like cancel culture in general, I feel like we've talked about it so much on this show. I feel like like when it's done wrong, it's done just so wrong, because it's like I feel like people can change and do whatever, but I think people do need to like have like some repercussions for their behavior, especially like right now.
You just need to learn. Like, you just need to learn. Like, you talk shit, you get punched in the mouth. You don't talk shit, hopefully, as much anymore. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or you watch what you say. And that's kind of like how it goes. But the thing is, just like everyone's learning at different times. It's like really easy to be like, oh, how have you not know this? Like, you know, but people grow up in bubbles and stuff, and it's just like you just don't understand like when you'll learn, you know, these things, like until maybe it just smacks you across the face, you know, one day. But what else we got?
Yeah. So Donald Trump right now, I feel like, I guess, I don't know if it's like still up, but there's like only one liked tweet on his account, and it was about Insecure, the HBO show with Issa Rae. And it's like how I wanted tonight's like episode of Insecure to end, like whatever. And it like had a GIF, and it's like the only thing liked by him. And so people are like, oh, what? Like,
yo, Issa Rae is pretty freaking funny, dude.
Oh, I love Issa Rae. I love Issa Rae.
Did you see the new one on Netflix with her and what's his name?
Kumail. Yeah.
Mujaver. What's his name? But I watched it the other night, and it was like so funny. Them two together was hilarious, and they were just really good. So if you haven't seen that movie, I forgot what it's called, but
yeah, it's called like it's something. I forget what it's called, but it's like, yeah, it's like kind of like a it's supposed to be really cool. But yeah, so like people are like, what's going on? And so people think it might be like a bot or something, or maybe something in the administration to be like, look, here's this teeny tiny baby olive branch to the black community, liking a tweet about Insecure. But I don't know, like what is going on?
It's called The Lovebirds. That's what it's called.
Yes.
Nana Johnny and Issa Rae. Issa Rae. So that's crazy. Donald Trump, insane. What else we got?
And then NASCAR has banned the Confederate flags from being anywhere at their events. Like I don't really watch NASCAR, nor do I go to NASCAR events. But usually, like, you know, there's like the people in their trailers and they have all the flags and whatever, and like it's very much so based in like parts of the South and things like that. It's big, and a lot of people have always had the Confederate flag as like a Southern pride symbol. But like inherently, it's racist, and it's about, you know, enslaving humans.
Right.
So but so they banned it, which like that's crazy, like, because that's like, you know, like it's good that they're fine. First of all, like I didn't know like that was something they hadn't banned. Like I guess it was just like freedom of speech, I guess. But like that's a Confederate flag, I think, is inherently hate speech. So
yeah, that's another good step in the right direction. I mean, eventually, I just feel like it's going to take a long time to filter people out of racism, like, you know what I'm saying? But over time, I think we can really do it. And this is like first time in my life that I've ever seen anything like this, like, you know, where people are like have awakened to racism. I don't understand how it's just like, but it's just such a big topic, you know what I'm saying? It's one of the biggest topics, and it's front and center right now, and it's amazing. What's it called? What made you go yikes this week, V?
yeah,
Something that was just like, whoa, yikes.
Yikes indeed. So J.K. Rowling, well-known author of the, you know, Harry Potter series and related books. It's been known that she's a TERF. And you might be like, Veronica, what's a TERF? TERF, trans exclusionary radical feminist. So she, you know, she's said things on the internet before that are very much so like transphobic and things like that. And she really just doubled down this past week and talked about, you know, she pretty much just like denied the validity of being trans and said that, like, you know, if we didn't say that, like, you know, people were like men or women, then that like discredits a lot, like that discredits women, and it discredits like everything like that women have done, which really doesn't make any sense. And then she like retweeted something that was an article about, it said like how, whatever, for people who menstruate. So it was like about like period products or things like that. And she literally retweeted it and said, oh, if only we had a word for that, like maybe like woman or something like that. Which I'm like, yo, like, why do you gotta double down? Why do you gotta be out here saying more stuff, being all like, just kidding, like, if you're trans, like, I really don't give a shit about you.
Yeah, I mean, that's the sad part, is that, like, you know, some people have their way of thinking, and they'll double down, and they like to stir the pot and be instigators, especially when you become so successful. Like, you feel like you feel like your thoughts and opinions actually matter that much. I'm kind of glad now I've never seen any of the Harry Potters or read any of the books.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's interesting because like her whole, like her books and the movies and everything, and like Daniel Radcliffe, who is Harry Potter in the movies, like he's come out and like with the Trevor Project, which is a known LGBTQ organization, has like wrote a whole letter about like, you know, how that goes, like what her saying that goes against a lot like of what Harry Potter and everything stands for, and how like it's not acceptable and things like that. And I posted something the other day about how, you know, like you can still, you know, think about how Harry Potter helped shape you as like a kid and growing up and whatever, but like that doesn't, like, I mean, J.K. Rowling's just like a shitty person.
Yeah. The thing is, though, as long as the books are being bought, you're still supporting her, right?
I know, which like that's the thing, is like I don't know what that's going to mean, because I know she's like come out with like some follow-up books or like different parts of the series, and I think she's actually releasing one soon or just released one. So I don't know, I mean, what that's going to look like for all of those, and if there's going to be more of those movies made, because there's like the Fantastic Beasts, whatever, that is like the spin-off of those.
Well, yikes.
Yikes indeed.
All right, guys, I want to welcome our special guest from the Bachelor Diversity Campaign. We got Brett Vergara and Lee Chesley here. Let's give them a round of applause.
The effects here. Oh my! I am so impressed. I am so dazzled. Oh, I feel so welcome.
Thank you. We actually debated whether the sound effects were a thing or not. But back in the day, actually, I used to host like a meeting for my office, and I had a soundboard with those sound effects, like the same exact ones, and it would make the meeting so much better. So I was just like, it's got to make our podcast better, right?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, absolutely. I always support air horns. Always.
Well, I really appreciate having you guys here on the show. The Bachelor Diversity Campaign is something that I've seen come across my social media. I do follow a lot of Bachelor type accounts and stuff, but this specific campaign, I thought kind of smacked me in the face. I'm not gonna lie. Like the graphics and all that, it's like something I definitely pay attention to. So I want to kind of get into what you guys do and how this all comes together. And Lee, let's start with you. Maybe you could talk about what's going on with all these graphics and how good it's hit me.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, me personally, I'm a mom in Atlanta. I work in marketing. But I think that that's actually really indicative of a lot of people who are in this group, right? So we met through Brett's Facebook group. It's a really inclusive group. There's a ton of really great people who are in that group. And someone posted one day, I mean, I think she even said, I was laying down to take a nap. I'm like, thinking about this. And she just said, we should be able to do something here. This is a problem that needs solving. And a ton of people hopped on that post. And we have some really great people from all walks of life, from very diverse backgrounds. And we really are just a group of people who kind of brought together some skill sets that we thought could help. I mean, you mentioned the graphics. We've got some wonderful design folks on the team that have worked to do that. We've got some wonderful, marketing people. We've got content editors. We've got activists. I mean, it really is just a lot of people who have thrown in to help get this off the ground.
That's amazing. Well, Brett, I did a little background on you. Veronica was very familiar with you. I'm still trying to get my hands wet with all this stuff. She's just really good at this stuff. But I did see that, you definitely are a big fan of The Bachelor. I mean, that. Yeah,
just a tad.
Well, it's nice to see another fellow man be interested in the franchise.
Exactly.
But I'd kind of love to hear, we like to ask people, when they got involved with the franchise, what was their season, and what really brought you, drew you to the show.
Yeah, so I started with Nick's season, so not all that long ago.
Wow.
I'm not sure that was.
So yeah, Nick is an infamous in the show, obviously. So he had history.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so that's the thing, is I didn't know that history at all. I actually started watching with Bachelor in Paradise in 2016, so I saw his redemption arc.
Okay.
So when I was watching, I was like, oh yeah, this Nick guy seems like a real solid dude. And then all of a sudden the friend that I'm watching with, who's been watching since Trista's season, is like, no, he's the worst. Right. I'm like, okay. So I started watching then. And I was drawn into the show because I really, it was just a different type of show. It was captivating in the sense that it felt like there were multiple ways that you could engage with it. So you're watching the show just for the sake of watching it. You could also talk with so many coworkers and friends. So many people are watching the show and want to just talk about what they saw. And then you can also just engage on Twitter. It's one of the best online shows,
right,
as far as that goes.
Agreed.
And you can interact with the contestants and other people, and I just thought all of it was so fun and different. And yeah, I just sort of latched onto that whole aspect of it, and I've since fast forward 3 years, it's somehow become my number one hobby, which I don't know how I feel about that, but
yeah.
But no,
I mean, we're on our way for that being our hobby too. So
yeah. So the Facebook group that she mentioned, that is a pretty recent development, and that speaks to that whole this show does weirdly connect a lot of people, right? Like the four of us, we're all having a conversation because we're all
Right.
fans of the show and we want to see diversity brought to it as well. So there's just a lot of conversations that can come from this show, and there's a lot of ways it can improve, obviously. But this Facebook group was made when quarantine first started, and I was desperate for social interaction, and I was feeling pretty lost myself, not really knowing what to do with myself. And I think a lot of other people were feeling the same way.
Definitely.
So it came just from a whim, and it's been really, really beautiful for me to see all of this start there and start so organically, and see all of these amazingly talented people who offer not only different perspectives because of where they come from in life, but expertises. I'm really proud of what has happened here, and I'm really maybe naively hopeful that it can lead to some change.
I don't think I mean, even like we got to talk a little bit before the show, but this idea of this podcast stems from trying to bring diversity to The Bachelor. Me being a brown, I'm half Colombian, half Indian. I've never seen someone that looks like me on the show, so I thought it'd be cool to, essentially this podcast is my campaign to be the first brown bachelor.
It is.
So, you guys are very aligned with our mission here too. But
where do we sign to get you on?
hell yeah, this is what it's all about, making friends. So, but Brett, I see you have a pretty big following here on Twitter, a pretty big following on Instagram. What is that about? Why are you so popular, bro?
I don't know why I'm popular either. I don't ask myself that every day. But I, again, just have developed this little live tweeting hobby.
1,000 followers on Instagram. You got like 32,000 followers on that's on Twitter, and this is on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like, what was like your what's your claim to fame?
I will say the follower count on both has gone down in the past 2 weeks when one, this campaign has launched, and also two, just talking and acknowledging how tragic world events are right now. But fuck them. Buy.
Exactly.
I completely buy quality over quantity. Yeah.
Amen.
I think a lot of people have that same sentiment right now. Like a lot of stars I've been seeing being like, dude, if you're a racist, unfollow me. I don't even want you to do that. So, I don't think you'll be fine there.
If I can add why I think Brett's got the following that he does, because obviously I found Brett on Twitter and I was actually giving him shit last night. I'm like, you know what? I just got a tweet that I sent you like 6 months ago. I'm not pissed because you didn't respond to me.
Hold on a second, I got a sound effect for that.
I'm ashamed.
Yeah. But I think he's right. Getting on Monday nights and on Tuesday nights and talking about The Bachelor is fun, right? And it should be, kind of, for me, it's like I put the kids to bed, I sit down, I can have a glass of wine and just talk to a bunch of strangers about something that's totally trivial. And Brett does a great job of doing that. And he can be kind of snarky at times or whatever, but there's no, from what I've seen, there's no hatred, and there's not everything's coming from a good place and a place of positivity. And I think we've continued to see that in the Facebook group with the people who've come over to join this Facebook group that he launched. And so I think that's what people want, right? You want to go on, you want to have fun, and you want to connect with other people. And I think for me personally, it's but I want to do it in a way that's respectful for the cast and for the leads, and understand that they're real people too. And I think that we see that with what the content Brett puts out.
That's a great point. And I think, I commend you for that, because The Bachelor, it's funny because you guys are bringing attention to another thing too, which I think is the fact that it's also a place for people to be negative and hate on things, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's also another thing too, that sometimes me and Veronica will get in discussions about are we just hating on someone because everyone else is jumping on the bandwagon and hating on? Did they really do something? Is this a bad edit? Because we've had a conversation recently with one of the contestants from
Listen to Your Heart,
Listen to Your Heart, Brandon Mills, and he was actually a really nice guy. I would have never, if I never had a conversation with him here on the show, I would have just continued thinking he was like a douchebag, and he self-admittedly was a douchebag on the show, but like, you know, it's just like sometimes he got to explain himself a little bit more, and there's a little bit more depth to people. So to just hate on people just because of this show putting the worst versions of yourselves on there, like it's just kind of, it's nice to hear that there's a positive angle on it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because I can definitely be guilty of leaning into the snark, and also like the, you know, kind of like the dog piling. Is that the word? I can't think if that's the word. I'm sleepy a little bit over here.
It sounded right.
Yeah,
to
but
me.
like there's a natural tendency to be like, oh, like we're all going after this person. All right, let me jump on with my little, you know, jab.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think what I try to do, because on one hand, it is important to remember that, you know, they're on this reality show. We don't know them. So I try not to judge too harshly. I will say, like, there are certain things you do have to be like, all right, like you have to be held accountable to some degree for what you say and do, especially if it's kind of clear that there wasn't a way to like Frankenbite it together and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But what I hold more accountable is this whole other angle of the show is what happens off air. Whether you're seeing previous comments of these contestants, previous campaigns that the contestants have done, whether with involving a hat, you know, stuff like that is more where I that's what I look for. And that I think is very worthy of bringing to light. And I ultimately think one of our asks in a way is having The Bachelor bring that to light as well.
Right.
You know, it shouldn't fall on, you know, the Rachel Lindsays of the franchise.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, let's just get into the nitty gritty. Why don't we, Veronica? Right?
Yeah.
40 seasons, 18 years, one black lead. Veronica, take it away.
Yeah. So I guess like you started talking about the asks. So like kind of, I would love to know how you guys, like in this group that you guys formed for this campaign, how did you come up with these I guess like go over what the different asks are and how did you come up with those?
Yeah, I'll run through some of it, and then Brett, definitely jump in.
Well, I mean, I have the list here. You probably have the list too. I didn't know if you had it ready or not. I mean, there's 13 of them, so.
You got it in your head at this point.
Yeah, I'm sure. Take it away, Lee.
I mean, I don't have all of it up. We can definitely go through it in detail, but I think it's important. One thing that I think is really important is there's the clear cut, like cornerstone ask, right? Like there should be a black bachelor, and ongoing, there should be more BIPOC leads, and there should be more representation in the cast past week 3. Like, I think that's if you can't argue that. There's nothing you can say against that. So we kind of started with those core types of asks, and then within the group, we have a lot of BIPOC representation, and so we just said, okay, what else is important? What else could help us with this? And one of our black cast campaign members, I believe, brought it up, and she just said, why would we ask people to put themselves in this position? Why would someone voluntarily become a black lead? You see what's happened with Rachel Lindsay. You see what happens even with some of the cast. Yes, it's a problem that people are not being cast in these roles who look different than what 39 of the seasons have looked like, but ultimately it goes beyond that, and we need to hold not only ABC accountable, but we really need to hold ourselves as viewers accountable as well, because unless viewers are willing to change, then it's really unfair to ask people to put themselves out there in that way, knowing the way that people are reacting. So that's where the diversity consultant came in. That was really important to us. The fact that ABC take a stand, publicly, owning their role in this, and then also condemning, racism both on and off screen. So getting into a lot of that social stuff. I think that's where all of that started to ruminate. And really it was the BIPOC people in the group who brought this to us, and I'm so incredibly thankful for that perspective.
Before we move any further, because I kind of had to look it up. I got the the POC part, which is people of color. But all these terms sometimes come out like I'm like, should I have already known this? Like I legit, as a brown person, had to look up what BIPOC meant. So it means black, indigenous, people of color. And this is like, is this a term? Like, how long is this term? Is this a new term, or because I'm just hearing about it? I don't. Anyone?
At first, I had heard of it, and I definitely had to be, asked to be educated on that. Brian, I don't know if it's a term that you were familiar with.
I mean, you really don't give like terms and stuff to things, you know? I was for our listeners' sake, like, you said BIPOC. Yeah. I had to personally look it up, so I just want to make sure people knew what that meant. But definitely, when it comes to what's going on with the show, you see them try to do it sometimes, like you see they'll just keep a black person on the show for a couple more weeks because they might have like some extra people like to fill it out. And I feel like
Mike was so popular for on Hannah's season.
Yeah, I mean, to me, but I think the bigger question is like, moving forward, like how do you keep it like fair and not racist? And also, I mean, this might be a hard question, but would we be satisfied? Would we all really be satisfied if it was the black lead? Yes, we got the black lead, but we had to like beg for it. And are they just giving it to us because we're forcing them to? Yeah. That's kind of like the question I have.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a very fair point, and that it's bullshit that a campaign has to be organized to hopefully make this happen. I mean, we're still in hopefully territory, and I am hopeful. I really am. I really believe in the mission, obviously, but then also just the sheer like workforce that went into this thing, and I'm really proud of not only the people who worked on it, but all of the contestants who supported. And I acknowledged every single time I could when I was talking to a contestant and empathized with them that like, hey, I know that this might potentially be putting you in an awkward place. You're essentially that whole biting the hand that feeds you. Mm-hmm. But I ultimately did find so many contestants, they had their values and morals in check where, I won't say, who said it, but someone said like, Black lives mean more than contracts, and even though there's like a fear to speak out, that's ultimately why it was so important for us to recruit as many people as possible, because I didn't want it to, fall on Rachel like it always does, fall on Mike to speak out or anything. It should be, especially like this is, where I really felt it, because there's so much educating I in general need to do, and a lot of just kind of trial by fire and learning, learning by doing. And I think we just gotta, on one hand, really amplify BIPOC voices, but at the same time, like, don't just make them do all the work. That's also bullshit. So there is a fine line to balance there. Mm-hmm. So I was a big fan of trying to find as many of the white male leads as possible and be like, hey, can you help with this? Come on, like Rachel needs support. And I'm really glad that they showed up for us.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think, I just being I proudly say I'm brown, person of color though. Mm-hmm. And I sometimes I wonder how do you keep a rotation of people and keep it fair without it being kind of corny that they're just rotating through this color cycle. Sure. You know what I'm saying? How do you guys have a plan that if they were to ask you, okay guys, how do we keep it fair? How do we not have two white people, then a black person, and then we all right, so then we get the black people in, then it's then the flood of everybody's gonna start coming in. How do we navigate these waters through this campaign?
I mean, I think a big part of it is not half-assing it. Don't token cast people. I mean, that's not what we're after either. That's why the asks of the campaign are far more than just on screen, even, going beyond casting a lead. It goes beyond casting 35% BIPOC contestants for a lead. We also dive into, everybody who is casted as a lead, and this is a bit more of like a nebulous point and something that we didn't necessarily build as a core of our campaign, but ultimately you want all the leads to be very open to dating outside their own race, because you don't want it to be this stupid trend that we're caught in where you do cast 35% BIPOC contestants. And, people have called that out in our campaign before, where they said like, oh, but they do that. So like, what the hell? It's like, okay, but if they all go home on week 2 or 3, then
what's the point? Yeah.
What's the point? And then also leading into all of the stuff behind the scenes. So it does just need to be an overhaul. That's how you make it fair, is you just really commit to making a change that should have happened a long time ago. And going back to your point, like, isn't it just kind of like bullshit that we have to really demand for this? They should have done it on their own. Absolutely agree. But, let's get it done anyway.
Right. I wanted to know, have you guys listened to the Rachel Lindsay and
Becca podcast, Bachelor
podcast
Happy Hour
episode yet?
Yeah.
Because I listened to it today, and it was very interesting. It was a little rough to listen to because, like, obviously Becca is kind of in a rock and a hard place. It sounded like with in a
her
relationship,
fiance Garrett.
which had me asking, like, if you feel like someone had, like, can you love people that, like, are acting like apparently her fiance is acting or whatever?
Garrett.
And the thing is, like, there was a lot of like big points and stuff, but I was wondering if you guys had heard it and what kind of like stood out to you about it. I mean, a lot of your guys' campaign things, definitely align with, a lot of stuff. Rachel, she had a lot of great points. She was very strong and I thought very well spoken. Something I'm very jealous of because I use the word all the time. But anyways, but yeah, like, what were you guys' thoughts on it if you listened to it?
Yeah, I did. I think I agree. I think Becca's in a really hard spot. I can't speak to their relationship, but I would imagine that there's some stress there right now, and I don't envy the position that she's in, having to speak on behalf of her fiance, but also not, it sounds like, agree with the things that he said. I think Rachel has been incredibly strong for all of her life, right? She's said that she went on The Bachelor because she thought that she could help create change within the Bachelor franchise.
She went on there because they said that they told her that, like, she was going to be, the change and everything.
Yeah. And so she knew that she was taking that role on, which I can't even imagine what that responsibility feels like. And hearing her break down on that episode, it was like you said, it was incredibly hard to listen to, I think. And hearing her say, like, why is this all of the sudden important? Like, it's been important forever. Why do people, like, why are people shocked that racism still exists right now? And I don't have the answer to that. I don't think anyone does.
I thought it was also interesting when she was like, why now? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why right now? And I think that's kind of the point, she was asking to Becca. That's kind of how I feel about also asking the show to put a black lead. Like, it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? It's just one of those situations that, like, if for Becca to admit that she just grew up in a bubble and he grew up in a bubble and didn't have like that many friends and stuff like that, to admit that you are like now gonna learn and stuff, like you still have to admit that there were so many years that you didn't know, right? I guess. And and that, I guess, was a question I was thinking of earlier, is like, well, how does The Bachelor, like, even address, if they were to put, like, what do you think a right way to even, like, announce this would be for The Bachelor and ABC and stuff? Because they would have to be pretty grand. They can't just, like, be like, the next one's gonna be like Mike, or like this black guy that we just randomly picked or whatever, and then people are gonna be like, wait a second, we know why you're doing it, and they're just gonna come at them. And how do they even present something like that?
I mean, I think the way they present something like that is, the first step to moving forward in a lot of different situations is admitting you fucked up and admitting your part in systemic racism and representation. That's actually a big point that I wanted to touch on, because I think some of us who, were putting this campaign together and also witnessing what's going on in the world, I think there can be a fair comment that's like, really, we're going to focus on Bachelor, like when all of this other stuff is going on. Like you have George Floyd, you have all of these other people that we really should be focusing on. And I also do want to say too, for people who are supporting our campaign, please go educate yourself about George Floyd, about the protests way before you support our campaign. We want it to be essentially one piece of the million-piece puzzle.
It's a drop in the bucket.
Ultimately needs. Yeah, absolutely. But that being said, all of those pieces are important. Representation of a silly reality show that has a massive reach is important, especially because of what we've talked about with the audience in particular that they have, because that's the people that we need to get this message. It's one thing for all of us to have this conversation and we're all in agreement, but that's where I think there will be resistance with the audience, and the audience really is such a problem with this. Mm-hmm. But just because there's resistance, at least I'm of the thinking, that doesn't mean you don't do it. You just push through that resistance and say, fuck you guys. This is like what you're going to get. So I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. This is what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, two points. I mean, even in that Rachel interview, she said that, like, what is his name? Mike Fless or Fleiss?
Fleiss, yeah.
The creator, or the executive producer, creator of the Bachelor franchise. He straight up blamed it on the audience. He was like, "Hey, we've looked at the numbers. Rachel Lindsay's season was the lowest rated season of all the Bachelorettes." It's messed up to say out loud, but that's the way it is. Now, he definitely blamed it on the audience, but that, I mean, when you're just continuing to put out a product because it's a business and it's money, and that by having white leads you're gonna have more eyes on it, it's just not fair. But that second point I kind of wanted to come back to was you saying, like, there's a fair point to say, like, why are we saying this right now? Because The Bachelor and The Bachelorette and The Bachelor in Paradise, the whole franchise, is the biggest show on TV. Like, there's no doubt about that. Like, I don't watch anything else on, like, Walking Dead, which is another huge show. And those are, like, the only two things keeping, like, cable television and, like, local news and stuff is keeping this shit, like, afloat. So for people not to, like, realize that one of the biggest shows on network television is blatantly at this point being racist, I mean, it's kind of like adds to the bigger conversation when people were talking about all these other things when there's a bigger issue at hand here, and that's what I really like about this campaign that you guys are doing, because it is important. If the show isn't that important to all these viewers, then it's important that they do it right. And I think it's very important that they push through times where they might not have the best ratings, but eventually it becomes normal.
Yeah, right. I mean, the thing is too, it's like, going off of that, look at Bachelor in Paradise last season when we had the Demi and Christian relationship. That I'm looking for formulaically. Is that the word? I don't know.
You're doing it.
We had the same thoughts on it too.
Yeah, right. But that clearly breaks the mold. They needed to adjust what the show is, how the show works, in order for that representation, that very necessary representation, to be present in the show. That's the same argument that can be made for having a black lead, having more BIPOC leads. All of these other things is sometimes you just got to do it. And looking back, right, there's been such this argument of like, the contestants, who are BIPOC, they don't get far enough. That's why they're not considered for the lead. Mike made it pretty far. I want to say it's 6, something like that. I could be wrong. 6th, 5th. Hannah Brown, 5th as well. So when that's no longer the reason, then what is? It becomes really clear it's because of race, and that's ridiculous.
Right.
So
yeah, and with that Demi
really,
situation, they broke their backs to film that whole thing, like to get that whole like thing down on camera, and that was like their whole season was kind of, oh, look at us, we got like gay people on The Bachelor, we did it.
Yeah.
But now it's like that's I feel like that's like they always put the feather in the cap and then move on. You know, it can't be the way anymore.
Yeah, they purposely like, you know, cast it, brought her in from outside of like casting. So like that's the thing. Like I think Rachel even said it. We just said it. Like, you know, it's like, okay, if we can put in the work to bring in someone not even related to the franchise, like can't we even pull from the franchise? Can't this like be the work that we do? Like have these people on here in the first place?
Like it's a great proof point even because it created so many conversations. And so I think again, I mean, that's just another example of they can do whatever they want. Right. And so like they really need to be held accountable for showing diversity within these groups and creating these conversations because I mean, I heard about that on every podcast, on every, like, it was blowing up, right? And so, like, there's a platform there and it needs to be leveraged.
Right. I mean, yeah, just to go back to all the amount of ways they've broken the formula of Bachelor to make it interesting. They've had 2 girl leads and then the guys voted on the girls, but they can't have, like, a black guy on the show. Like, this is crazy. Yeah. You know, it's insane.
Yeah. Like so did you guys like wanted to like, obviously like you guys blew up the sphere of social media this past week because they've just started pushing Bachelor's Greatest of All Time. Like it was aired, the first one was this past Monday. And so like obviously like Bachelor's back in our feeds, back in our lives. Was that like, you know, purposeful? Were you guys like purposely being like, okay.
Yeah. So it was purposeful, one, because it's the start of a new spinoff that they're doing. But another, 2 other pieces of it is, one, just like obviously what's going on in the world and the fact that there are eyes on it. So whatever you want to call that, because I don't even want to call it like a silver lining, a positive, because it feels really fucked up to say that. But, when it comes down to it, it does feel different. And again, maybe naively so, but I'm really hoping not. It does feel like more people are paying attention. So this is the time to make it count. And while people are paying attention, make a move and hold Bachelor accountable. And the thing with Greatest of All Time, they're going to be highlighting, look at our slogan, 40 seasons. Now I'm forgetting. How many the numbers.
40 season, 18 years, 1 black lead.
That's at 18. I forgot how many years. Damn it! I was.
It's
so
all good, man. It's a lot of numbers. I'm not good at math either.
Yeah, it's a lot of but like
it's a lot of years. I would forget too.
It's a lot of years. No, but like the greatest seasons of all time, it's going to be a lot of whiteness, and in the times we're in, that's only magnified.
Right. And also, let's go back to the point of the fact that, like, in the beginning of Bachelor, they just picked whoever they wanted to. They could just go back to that. Like, just pick whoever you want. Pick the dope just pick, like, dope people. Like, like, pick the future Bachelor podcast brown guy. You know what I'm saying? I think he'd make a great lead. But that's just, I might be biased. But, well, guys, what's next for, like, how do you keep the campaign going? And what happens when the next season happens? It's another white guy. Like, what do you guys do?
Yeah. So like, I mean, as of right now, we're really appreciative of you both for having us on, because what's most important for us is keeping this momentum up. We're so grateful that we've had so much support from contestants, from all the audience, obviously. But we don't want this to just be a blip that scares the show for a second and then they go about business as usual. We really, really want to keep this momentum going. So that's the important thing. We do want to clarify, or not clarify, but one thing that we've made note of with this campaign is we don't, at least as of yet, want this to be a boycott, right? Like, again, all 4 of us are having this conversation because we love this show. It's brought us together. That Facebook group brought us together. That really means a lot to me, especially in the times of quarantine when I'm not seeing my friends. Like it's really important to have that community where we all want the sense of belonging, whether it's to volunteer organization or to Bachelor Nation. And it's a really special thing. So we just want more people that we love to feel represented and loved by the show as well. So as far as like what happens after this, if they don't meet any demands, and that's again to this tricky thing of like, okay, well, how many demands is good enough? We want all of them, we really do. And I would, we've said that we're open to any conversations and any sort of, just hearing their insight as to the feasibility of certain asks. Hopefully all of them can get accomplished. I wouldn't call for a boycott of it, but speaking personally, removed from everybody else on the campaign, but I'm sure they feel the same sentiment as well. I will feel incredibly disappointed and just saddened by a lack of response that me potentially not watching won't come from a place of like, I'm going to stick it to you. I'm just going to be really sad. Right. And that's where it's going to come from, me dropping off the show.
That's like the disappointed parent. Like, it's like, it's sometimes worse when they're disappointed in you.
Yeah.
So they were that for them. But I think, first of all, like, with Rachel Lindsay, she's pretty much like drew a line in the sand on that episode. It sounded like to me, like she's like, you either do something or I'm done. Like I got my friends, I got my experiences, my life now and whatever, but like I'm not going to be speaking up. I might even be speaking against, like, she didn't say that, but I could see her being like an advocate, like against those type of things if they don't make a change soon. And then also, right here, this is a safe place for you guys to be able to always come. We'd love to have you guys come here and just talk about the show, when it's back on, or, have you as a guest and to get some updates and, talk about what's going on in life and your campaign, and how we're, bringing more diversity to the world. And, I think it's very special that, we're doing it through the lens of The Bachelor. And I think, someone's got to do it. And, I think you guys are doing a great job. So, I really appreciate you guys being here, and I hope you come back again.
I mean, I mean, like, listen, after that intro with the air horns that you gave us, we need to come back.
Man, those are all day for you. I was actually about to give a couple more.
We come back post quarantine and like
do it real life.
Yes.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, let's get one all together. So, before we get out of here, guys, can you give us, where people can find you, where you want people to go, and what people can do, with this campaign, and anything you guys want to share?
Yeah, so our handle is @BatchDiversity. We're on Instagram and Twitter. There are links in both of those profiles where you can find the petition, you can find the website, you can find some resources as well. We've linked to some resources from the website and from the link tree. And we would just love for people to sign the petition and really hold not only ABC and Warner Brothers, but also each other as viewers accountable for the change that we'd love to see in this franchise.
That's amazing. Brett, did you have anything you want to add?
That sounded good to me.
Sounded really good. I actually had one last question. Have you guys done a podcast yet, like regarding, your campaign and stuff? I know. I had to ask. Have you guys been guests yet on any other shows, or are you guys like doing other podcasts and everything? I know this is fairly new, so I mean, are you guys like going to be doing a lot more of these? And
so we're trying to spread the love around our group, like letting everyone have a voice in this campaign. I personally have not done another podcast. I don't have one scheduled. I know there have been other podcast folks who have reached out and either want sound bites or just to learn more about the campaign. I don't know that we've done anything that's honestly been this much of a conversation. But Brett, I know you've been really involved with a lot of that as well.
Yeah, right. So there's been a few, and I also really credit Nick Vial's podcast, Ben Higgins' podcast for, we weren't on those podcasts, but they did bring up our campaign and told their listeners to support, which really means the world.
Awesome.
So yeah, we've definitely been really humbled and excited by the amount of coverage that this has gotten and the amount of light that's been shed on this. And I'm hoping it continues because it's really going to help hopefully get this done.
For sure.
And one thing just to add to that I think is really, it's spoken volumes about how important this is for the Bachelor franchise, for Bachelor Nation. All of this has been really organic. So when you think about like what you've seen, whether, it's from contestants or like Nick and Ben mentioning stuff on podcasts and things like that, like that's not something that we reached out for and asked for them to do. And so I think the fact that that happened it just speaks volumes to how important this is to Bachelor Nation. And so
this is important to us here. That's why we reached out to you guys. We're like, man, this is like worlds colliding. We got to make this happen. So we really do appreciate you guys being on the show, and look forward to having more conversations with you. We support you 100%, and
we both signed it. So.
Yeah, I signed that real quick. So guys, we definitely got your back, and good luck with everything. Let's give you a round of applause one more last time. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay. What a great combo.
Yo, that was such a great convo. Oh, man. Well, we might as well get into our slapper of the week this week. Veronica, why don't you discuss our slapper of the week? Why are you laughing?
because when we pick like slapper of the week and stuff lately, I've just like let Sai just do it.
Aren't there things and roles within this podcast that we all just kind of like let you do? Like, I'm never like, oh yeah, that status you posted on Instagram was a little crazy or something like that. I'm like, yo, dude, let her do that. So I feel like slapper of the week, I'm just like, yeah, that one's a slapper for sure. Veronica's gonna agree.
And sometimes I like to have, some feedback because I got sent, actually Alma, our guest from last episode, sent me this song.
Well, why did you start with that? You should have started with Alma sent it.
Okay, well, I don't know why that's necessary, but Alma sent me.
I wanted to see, like, it actually adds to it. I'm like, oh, Alma likes it.
Because if Alma sent it, then it's okay, but because it's coming from me, you don't give a shit.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
Anywho.
It's funny to talk like that.
So she sent me the song. It's called No Longer Lovers by Billy Davis, and it's just like a groovy song. And I'll be honest, like, it's very repeatable. Like, I played it on, like, when she sent it to me last week, I played it on repeat a bunch, and I feel like that's the essence of slappers of the week is, we want something that, like, you're gonna vibe to. Maybe, like, if you're having a hard day at work, you're gonna vibe to it, and you're gonna be like, hey, or whatever.
I totally agree. I think what's it called? Replay value is a huge part of being a slapper of the week. That's why it doesn't matter if it's new or old. We'll always just hit you with something that slaps. So, when you played it for me, I had another slapper. We might use that in the future, but this actually does slap.
Definitely.
So, I appreciate you letting me know, and I really appreciate Alma sending it over because I love this song. Without further ado, our slapper of the week, No Longer Lovers by Billy Davis. Let's go.
Slapper of the week. This song slaps.
No Longer Lovers by Billy Davis. Gotta love some trumpets, right?
Amen.
Yo, that was definitely a bop. What you got any shout outs this week, V?
Yeah, I guess I wanted to shout out my friend Natalie. She actually is the one who first got me into following Brett Vergara and like some of his stuff, like in his commentary on The Bachelor. And so she was the one who originally like pushed me the like diversity campaign stuff. So I have to shout her out because she got me in the know.
Yeah, it's weird because like the diversity campaign, the Bachelor diversity campaign, kind of just started coming at me. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I wish I remembered how I saw it first, but that's definitely good, something that you should support. And I definitely want to thank Brett and Lee for being guests on the show this week. So shout out to them.
Woo!
Yeah, well, wow, it's good to be back in Atlanta. What an episode. 116. It was so sweet. V, what do you got planned for this week? Anything fun when we getting back to some games?
I think I'm going up to David and Katie's house again. We're gonna do like more of a housewarming, me and them and our friend Morgan, to just like be like, oh, your new house. Cool. But yeah, I don't know what else I'm doing besides that. Might get on some water somewhere because it's gonna be hot as hell. So we'll see.
Well, me and a couple of the boys are getting together for poker night for some Fellowship Friday.
Ooh, look at you.
Yeah, it's time to get some money on the table. So,
oh shit.
Yeah, it's game time, baby. And then probably be hanging with some friends on Saturday because I'm hoping it's gonna be beautiful. So, I hope y'all are being safe out there. I hope y'all are loving your neighbor, and just fucking be nice to people. That's all it is. Thank you for listening to this show, and we're gonna continue to try to get guests on here, talk about what's going on in the world, and whether it's pop culture or if it's serious. Thank you guys for hanging tight with us, and we'll all get through this. And if you guys ever have anything that you think we should talk about on the show, or maybe a good guest suggestion or something like that, please hit us up on Instagram. Yeah, Instagram is a good place to get at us. V does a really good job of posting and getting and communicating with people on there, and I pop in once in a while just to be like, okay, what's going on over here? But
checking in.
Anyways, quickly, did you watch like the first recap of?
Yes. So it's the greatest of all time. Yeah, that's like some. So right now they're doing the Bachelor Greatest of All Time. So they did it's 3 hours condensed. See, this is the best way to watch it.
Right.
Like
exactly.
I love it.
So yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk about it too much right now, but like I just want to say it's going on every week. If you want to catch up, it's a good way to catch up with the Bachelor franchise from week to week, and they're gonna have the best seasons there, like JoJo, Rachel Lindsay, Ben Higgins, all your favorites. So it's a good
I'm excited.
way.
Caitlin's next week, Caitlin Bristow.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm so excited for that. I loved her season. They did Sean Lowe's first, and he's
do you think
like,
they'll ever do a thing? Do you think they'll ever do a thing like kind of like 90 Day Fiance, where they do like a couple bachelors and bachelorettes at one time? And then they show them over a course of like, each week, but you see like 5 different couples and shit.
I wonder, like, because they
versions.
still say that they're going to do Claire Crowley's season, but I don't know how or when.
Yeah.
And then they said they're coming back for The Bachelor. So I also
I'm seeing
don't know.
Maybe they don't do Bachelor in Paradise this year, and they just maybe fill it with the Bachelorette season.
Well, I mean, yeah, but that would be like happening, like, I guess, like in a month or two. So I don't know when they're filming.
I think stuff will start popping back up for everybody. But anyways, that's been our show, guys. Sorry to hit you with some Bachelor shit at the end, but it's kind of our show,
Yeah.
So
it's our show. We can do what the fuck we want.
Right. We didn't mean to get all hostile there at the end, but this has been Future. This has been Future Bachelor. My name is Sai.
I'm Veronica.
And we do love you, all right? See you next week. Deuces!
Bye!
Future Bachelor Podcast.